Welcome back everyone. If you saw my last video about the FPV flying wing with ArduPilot, then you know that I'm getting into ArduPilot now. So I'm going to build a new plane for that, and it's going to be a long-range FPV plane. So I designed it in Fusion 360 already. The plan is for it to have a 70-inch wingspan. Here's all the pieces I've got cut out. This is the fuselage. We've got the wing and the stabilizers there already cut out. So I'm going to begin assembling it. Alright, so here's the fuselage. It's all sanded. Got the fuselage glued together. Currently I'm gluing on the horizontal stabilizer. Got the carbon spar in there. Got another carbon spar in the vertical stabilizer. It's going to go there. Got the elevator and the rudder there. Here's the wing. I glued in one carbon spar on the top. Well, it's actually two separate pieces, but it's one long carbon thing in the top, and then there's another one in the bottom, which is just a one piece. So it doesn't go all the way to the wing tips. So we'll see how strong it is with that. I'm planning on covering this entire plane with packing tape, and I'm not going to paint it because it's just going to be a FPV long range plane, so I don't really care what it looks like. I just want it to fly for a long time. So I have the fuselage completed now. Got the horizontal and vertical stabilizers glued on, and the elevator and rudder hinges are glued in. The entire thing is covered in packing tape, so it's pretty rigid now and very smooth. We've got the wing over here. We've got the ailerons cut out and already glued in with the hinges. We've got the carbon fiber spar on the top, and then the other carbon fiber spar on the bottom that just goes through the middle piece. And this one's also covered in packing tape, so it's very rigid. Here in the middle, I put a piece of fiberglass around the leading and trailing edge because that's where the rubber bands are going to go over it. And then I wrapped it with the tape over top of it. So it seems like it should be pretty good. I cut it out a little bit so that it's not super thin here where the rubber bands are going to attach. So that's how it's going to sit on there in that little spot. And it's coming along nicely. Alright, so made a lot of progress. I've got most of the electronics mounted in the fuselage under here. I've got the flight controller. It's kind of hidden under some wires there. It's a Maiden F405. I've got the receiver there, the GPS and compass module back there, two servos for the elevator and rudder. I haven't attached the push rods yet. There's the video transmitter. That's the DVR for the video. Here we got the FPV camera and the GoPro. And then this is the battery compartment. My plan is to hold 4 or 5 1300 milliamp 4-cell batteries. Here's the wing, 72 inches. Wingspan, 8.5-inch cord. Got the two ailerons cut out and glued in. And I've got the spots marked out for the servos and the servo wires. I also have here the 3D printed motor mounts, and they're being printed out right now on my 3D printer. It's going to take about 13 hours. I'll be using two of these Emax motors. They're just mini quad motors. And be using these small ESCs. I'm using a regular BEC here for powering everything. So here is the 3D printed motor mounts. You can see it's got the holes for the motor screws to go in, and then they're just going to slide on the wing like that. I'm going to glue those on with Gorilla Glue. Alright, so I got the motors mounted on the motor mounts, and I've got the ESCs wired up and fed through these channels in the wing. And I've also got the servo wires for the ailerons that go up here to the aileron servos. I haven't put the heat shrink over this one yet because I haven't determined whether it's spinning the correct direction. This one I've already got all set up. So I'm going to have counter-rotating propellers to cancel out the torque. Over here on the fuselage, I printed out these wing cradles that match the profile of the bottom side of the airfoil for the wing to sit on, so it's at the correct angle. And I've got everything wired up. I tested it out, everything's working. So now all I have left to do is just connect the push rods for all the control surfaces and then get the motor set up. Alright, so the plane's all finished now. We're going to do the Maiden Flight. We've got all the systems installed. We've got the FPV feed here, and looks like we've got GPS lock and everything, so we're going to take it up and do a test flight. I've got three 1300 milliamp hour 4-cell batteries in, so we'll see how long of a flight time we can get. Alright, so the motors were messed up. I think the ESCs, I didn't connect the ground wire for the signal because I thought it would be okay with the ground for the power. So I'm going to try to connect that and see if that fixes it. They were like cutting out a little bit, and we'll see if that fixes the problem. So that crash kind of messed up the vertical stabilizer, so I had to glue that back on. But I added a ground wire to the ESCs for each signal, and that fixed the problem with the motors cutting out. So the next video will be the Maiden Flight.